Bitcoin is going absolutely crazy. The price is rallying this past week and a couple days. It's just been on a tear, and we got to be a little bit thankful to the ETFs for this price action, maybe because they have been going absolutely insane, which has been crazy because even people, hedge fund managers, and people who are supposed to be smart about markets, they were doubting these ETFs in the beginning, saying that things like they wouldn't even get to 5 billion in 2024 when just BlackRock themselves got to 5 billion in the first 5 weeks. And it seems like these ETFs are constantly breaking their own records and just accelerating insanely fast, because if we look at things like this going on, you can see the new 9 Bitcoin ETFs have broken all-time volume record today with $2.4 billion, just barely beating their launch day, and saying IBIT went wild, accounting for $1.3 billion of it. So BlackRock is actually killing it. Like, these guys are absolutely destroying this ETF game. It's kind of insane to see. They, like it says here, they had over $1 billion in volume in one day. They are exploding with AUM, just flooding Bitcoin into their ETF and flooding money in. And they themselves are going crazy. I think it's Bitcoin or IBIT and Fidelity. They are both the number 1 and 2, and then it kind of drops off after that if you exclude Grayscale, because it's kind of weird. They went from a trust to a ETF. So, but all of this action, billions of dollars flowing in, and just making insane price moves, and it reflects in the Bitcoin price, because when there's a low supply, the halving's coming up, and these miners are buying more Bitcoin than what's being produced a day by a multiple factor. So it's kind of just interesting to see it all playing out, and just blowing everyone who thought what would happen, blowing it all out of the water. No one was even close. And speaking of BlackRock, these guys have this is BlackRock and Fidelity, so the number 1 and 2 basically. Now have a combined 229,414 Bitcoin, worth $13 billion for their spot Bitcoin ETFs, which is crazy. I forget who the fund manager was, but it was someone who came out and said that the all 9 of these ETFs would only get to about 5 billion combined by the end of the year. And like a couple months into trading, not even a couple months, they are already just skyrocketing past that. Just these 2 funds, 13 billion. I think the total for all of the funds is like 30 something billion. We can see this actually too, because we're comparing it to gold now, because now Bitcoin can be compared against the gold stuff. And if we look at this chart, it's kind of insane. Showing Bitcoin, the gold ETFs have $92 billion in them. Bitcoin ETFs already, so it's even more than what I thought, is over 40 billion. So we're getting to 50%, almost a third right now. Bitcoin ETFs got 30%, gold ETFs at 69%. So the Bitcoin ETFs are catching gold insanely fast. When you think about, they've been around for less than 2 months, and they're already pushing, a third of what gold ETFs have. This is going to be pretty interesting to see if this continues, if there's outflows from gold into Bitcoin, and this gold thing that's $12 trillion, some of that flows into Bitcoin. The multiple on that for the money coming in, there's not enough supply for people to buy. It's going to be an insane thing to see what happens with Bitcoin here, because if it can flip gold, it's just going to be hilarious to see that gold bugs like Peter Schiff, who is constantly negative about Bitcoin, he has to be negative because he's become a perma bear since he was introduced to Bitcoin when it was like $1, refused to buy it, and seeing it at 56, 57,000 today, that's going to make anyone, perma bear and kind of hate that thing, just knowing that they missed out on buying it for $1 and being able to own it for 60,000x what it was back then. And speaking of investments and using Bitcoin as an investment, it is interesting to see what dollar cost averaging does in Bitcoin as well. Because if you even take it from the top here, like Dylan LeClaire says, daily dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin, stocks, bonds, and gold, starting from the day of the $69,000 Bitcoin all-time high. This is what the results would be if you were DCing in Bitcoin. You'd be up 107% right now. The Nasdaq up 31, S&P up 19, gold up 9, and bonds, you would be down 9%. So it's just obviously Bitcoin's the fastest horse in the race. It's clearly the best and the most explosive. Now, the question really is this going to calm down, right? With the ETFs, is it going to lower volatility and kind of limit it how far up it goes? I don't really think so, just because of the supply dynamics and the absolute scarcity that comes along with Bitcoin. So I don't necessarily buy that it's going to like not allow it to be explosive. I mean, we've already seen explosive moves in these last couple of days that have happened with the ETFs being around. So will it limit the downside now is the big question, because that's what it could do if you have allocators. That's where the volatility would get shifted, because they would sell on the way up and buy on the way down. That's why volatility would go down. But it is interesting. I mean, I don't think shocking to anyone, right? Bitcoin is going to be up the most than any other asset class. It's just what always happens, right? For the majority of the years, Bitcoin's the best performing asset class. It's either like the best or the worst, right? If it's a bear market year, it's the worst. Any other year, it's the best. So it's kind of crazy. And now we get to see boomer money start to come into Bitcoin, and those pension funds and retirement funds and all of these $1 trillion hedge fund managers and asset allocators like BlackRock and Fidelity. We see all of them now pushing Bitcoin, because before they wouldn't want to do that. Even if they believed that Bitcoin's price would go up and it would help your portfolio and make you money, the reason they wouldn't allow you or tell you to invest in Bitcoin and to hold it in cold storage is there was no way for them to make money on that. Now, with, say, BlackRock, they have their own ETF. They have fees on that ETF. They can say, you should own 3% of Bitcoin, your portfolio in Bitcoin. It'll add a better return and risk-adjusted return. Everything will be better. And why don't you put it in our ETF? We'll take care of all the custodial stuff and all the back end. You just get to pay a fee. So they figured out the way how to make money doing this thing and be the leeches they are, and able to push people into Bitcoin and make money by doing that. So the incentives kind of changed. I still don't think at the end of the day, if you're an individual person owning the ETF over spot Bitcoin doesn't make much sense. You can't do what Bitcoin's meant to do with an ETF, right? You can't take self-custody, at least not yet. Maybe some point in the future, they'll change it to where you can withdraw Bitcoin. That's somewhere like down the future if that ever happens. But apparently that's possible to happen. But owning real Bitcoin and putting it in cold storage, having your seed phrase, that's what's really important. So the ETF, if you're an individual, I don't really see the purpose of it. But clearly, boomers and people who are older probably want this illusion of trust where they can say BlackRock, we can trust BlackRock and Fidelity and go down that route. And so they feel better about themselves, not knowing that you don't have to trust anyone if it's in cold storage. But the boomers are here. Their money is flowing in. Gold money is flowing into Bitcoin and out of gold. So it's going to get interesting, I think, as more of these talking figures who are highly respected, like Larry Fink in this investing world, start to talk positively. All of them start to bring more money in. Boomers start to just allocate because the people they trust tell them to. So, and the supply is low. So what happens when you have low supply, high demand? The price has to go up to match it. But we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to follow this whole thing and see how the price of Bitcoin reacts to it all. That's going to do it for this video. As always, do smash the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next